robotics is not just the drones you see flying, or the self-driving cars you see on the streets, or the robot in the manufacturing sector. These are just the effects of robotics. Robotics itself is even more profound. And I want to say that it is basically the ability to make anything happen without human intervention. Can we all say the ability to make anything happen without human intervention? In Africa or in Nigeria, we refer to it as jazz, but it's actually robotics. Can I actually get the door to open without me being there? Can I get the food to be cooked without me being there? Can I get that burglar to be caught red-handed without me being there? This is the mindset that makes us to be inspired to build robots. So I ask, where is the limit in what I've just said? There is no limit. Yet you ask, what is the future of robots? Unlimited. The only constraints to the future of robots is our imagination, our determination, and our hunger. And when I say hunger now, some of you are thinking of snacks. But I'm talking about that determination to see it happen in your generation. In the introductory program we had on this same WRO sometime earlier this year, a panel session was held and a question was asked, the difference between revolution and evolution. And I said, evolution is natural, things will evolve. Revolution is when you contribute to it. So whether we like it or not, the world is growing. Robotics is becoming the order of the day. Would you like to be part of that? So that's the question for you. Now, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, as the world stands at the threshold of a technological revolution, we Nigerians must look ourselves eyeball to eyeball and ask a critical question. Do we want to be passive consumers of foreign innovation, or do we want to be active players in this technological revolution? Because it's a choice to make. Now, for instance, I have to make this clarification because too often we are confused between our national drive for industrial automation and our drive for robotics. Leaders in some clients even think that as long as we have great manufacturing companies that are using the best of technology, that means we are advanced. But no, because that just means we are consuming what others are producing. We must measure our advancement in the abilities of our young ones to innovate, to think beyond the box and build. Now that's where robotics differs from industrial automation. Because in robotics you learn about the sensors. I was listening to the presenters when the Honorable Commissioner went around. Them talking about the sensors, the actuators, the controllers, and it's that in-depth knowledge that you may not get if you are basically learning how to use the PLCs in the manufacturing companies. You learn how to use the Siemens, the various big robots in those companies. You may just know how to manage them, how to operate them, how to reach them. But then the young ones here are learning how they work. What is the difference between Arduino and ESP and Raspberry Pi? The sensors in place for temperature, for pressure. If it is bad, how do I know the sensor is the one that has the problem and not the microcontroller? So that we move away from a country where people always say, go and change the motherboard, to a country where we say, no, you need to remove this sensor and replace it. Please don't be scared by the volume of this document. I will be very fascinated with it. I know you are looking at your time. I must say that true robotics training teaches us how to build from scratch. So the future of robots is inextricably linked to the future of our robotics education. We cannot have advanced robotics robotics without having advanced training in robotics. This presents us with a significant challenge. Where will the funding come from for comprehensive robotics education? I listened to ALF talking about how they want to make robotics education to be cheap and affordable and accessible to every Nigerian. Because it's a right, actually. But somebody has to sponsor. And I asked myself an honest question. I said, will producers of robots that wish to continue to sell to us willingly train us on how to build our own? The answer is no. So when I see the sponsors of this program, I am taken aback about their dedication and determination to entrench that knowledge. But again, please, let's be very honest. There is only little they can do. Because at the level of the primary and the secondary school level, we are basically encouraging them. It's like what they teach us in physics, initial velocity. But we know that after initial velocity, if there is no external force encouraging that motion, you might either be in constant motion or you will get down to zero. So how do we grow from here? What's the next step? So I am going to skip from talking about our tertiary institutions and how they are unable to meet up with the demands of the fast-growing technological space. I mean, I was speaking to somebody who went to a private university to study computer engineering, and he amazed me when he said they did robot arm kinematics, which is the science about how the robot arm moves and where it moves to and how the joints have to be placed to get the end effector to a point. So I said, that's very good, that is no robotics. What else do you do? They said, no, that's all the teacher taught me, and they have to write exams. That lecturer basically taught it based on his own internal conviction that I must teach them this thing. There is no particular structure on what these young ones must learn. So most times they learn on their own. But let us even give to them that they have learned on their own. The next step is the industry that is supposed to absorb them. What do we see? Many companies in Nigeria, hardly are they supporting the education, and beyond that, hardly are they absorbing the talents. Ask any young Nigerian today, even those who don't want to Japan, their plan is to stay in Nigeria and work remotely for foreign companies. It's a good thing for their family, but not very good for the industry here in Nigeria. You can hardly employ them nowadays. They'll tell you, why would you pay them 70,000 when someone is paying them 1 million naira per hour or something like that? It's still a thing we have to discuss. But what I want to emphasize here is the need for industry-academia collaboration. We want a community where every university researcher has some form of attachment to a particular member of the industry, either the manufacturing or the healthcare or any other kind of business. For instance, I took a walk into one multinational company in Nigeria, and just because I was in that company, they started pouring out their frustration. They said, this machine here was part of this entire industrial installation. All of a sudden, this weight packed up. Now it's not able to automatically measure the weight of the pallets rolling onto it. So we have to assume the weight because we can't measure it. Then this other machine too is meant to detect when the worker is in that space so that the load up there does not, the activity does not break down. But because it has broken down, we have put a cross around it, nobody should go there. And so on, I was like, you have these challenges, why can't you fix it? They said, no, it was a company from Germany that installed this whole production chain line. And they cannot just come because of one small unit. So they said they need modular solutions to each of these problems. And that takes me to the point we should be making. Robotics that you are all here for is not about, even though it may look like it's a small toy, this one is just a small toy, it's a small part of a large supply chain, a large production line. With the person talking about sensors for detecting when the soil is wet or when the soil has a high moisture or low moisture, that can be used for quality control in some companies that are trying to make sure their materials are dry. And then that's smart enough, and we can go from there. So imagine you have that extensive collaboration between industry and academia. The future of robots here in Nigeria will be great. different areas of application of robotics in the area of agriculture, healthcare, transportation, and co. But because of time, I will not do that. I would really like to round up with what I see as the global trend in robotics. Even though we may say Nigeria is still a developing country, but I can assure you that the challenges in robotics, many of our talents in Nigeria are already trying their hands on solving them. One of it is the idea of chaotic movement. Today we see cars, the ground vehicles that were displayed by the young ones there, moving in straight lines and then picking something, turning right and picking something. The world is moving away from that. We want our robots to fly or move in a chaotic manner. Chaotic in the sense that you yourself that programmed it cannot predict which path it will take. I don't need to go too far to explain to you that even in warfare, that is what is used to prevent counter-attacks or counter-response. Because if you already see a projectile, you can know which direction to tackle it. And that is the case with drones as well, with robots as well. Imagine you have a robot dog trying to catch a thief, and you already know it's going to pass this way. They might just put a rope or something, just fall down. But when it goes in haphazard directions, it becomes more intelligent and can attack properly. Also, it's the issue of aquatic robotics. Globally, that is still a big challenge. Aquatic robotics in the sense that when we build robots that can move on land, fly in air, we also need the ones that can move on the water. And if you say, oh, I can easily do that, what about the issue of communication, wireless communication underwater? Radio frequency does not work underwater. You need acoustic signals. So again, it's a challenge to the young ones there. Begin to look at beyond these ground vehicles and drones. How can you build underwater vehicles that can allow communication? And you need to go into things like waterproof containment and so on as well. Then of course, think about corrosion and the impact of that. Enhanced communication. People talk about robotics in the rural areas, and the first question they will ask you is, how will we communicate when there is no internet, when there is no power, and so on? And I always say that for us in Africa, that should be our strength. We should be building robots that are strong in terms and robust for our own environment, so that when you take it elsewhere, it will perform perfectly. Time up. Almost. Energy solutions. We don't need to talk too much about that. We know energy is a big concern. I will conclude now. I would like to conclude by addressing what I think is our challenge in the hardware space. Because many young people today are interested because WRO, Applied Foundation, is supplying them with the kits that they need. Oh, I need a Lego, just go and make it. But tomorrow, when you want to build a solution for a company, you won't even Lego you will use. You will need to go and either meet your welder or go and buy the tools that I think you don't drive a car or the hubs and so on. Where will you find it? China, maybe? You will find that shipping fee will be more expensive than the item. So that is a bottleneck we are still trying to surmount. But you have to be prepared because if it were easy, everybody will be there. You may even be the solution to that problem. The way Mr. Masoya found Arclight Limited to be a depot for Lego. It's the same way you might want to be the depot for the next level of robotics that can solve industrial problems. So as we conclude, we must acknowledge those who rekindle hope in young minds through competitions like this, hands-on experiences. In an era where social media, games and entertainment constantly distract our youth from technical pursuits, maintaining a focus on technology requires dedicated effort from educators and mentors. Many students enter university having lost interest because they cannot access their preferred courses. This is why inspiration and motivation must begin at the primary and secondary school level, creating passion that survives educational setbacks and institutional limitations. So to the teachers that are supporting, we say to you, and to the government providing